This is the Reinforce Your Gym podcast with your host, Dustin Vogel. This show is about arming gym owners with the tools, strategies, and lessons they need to take their business to the next level. That way, they can make a greater impact in their community. Now, let's get to work and reinforce your gym.
All right, guys, we're coming in with a little bit of a unique topic, and I've just been talking to a lot of gym owners lately who are having very serious thoughts about exiting their gym and selling it, and they're just curious, what is my gym worth? What could I sell it for? Well, this is something that I feel uniquely qualified to help gym owners with because I have sold 6 gyms over the years, some to investors, some to my team, some to nearby gym owners, and I've also recently become a broker to help people to sell their business. And now I've sold 12 gyms for other gym owners as well as other businesses. And so I know this process very well. I can really give you a pretty rough valuation of what your gym is worth. It'll probably be pretty close to what, someone's willing to pay. And that's what I want to talk about on this week's episode is how to sell your gym for a boatload of cash. All right. So let's get into it. Okay. What are we going to cover? What your gym is worth, prepping it for sale, how to maximize your purchase price, what are your buyers looking for, who is your ideal buyer, and what does the acquisition process look like, okay? So the first thing I like to say is even if you're not looking to sell now, let's say it's going to be a year or 2 years from now, well, I want to really encourage you to go through this exercise because it changes how you run the business going forward. And I compare it to cleaning your house when you're going to have guests, right? You're going to maybe have a party on Saturday. You suddenly go from neglecting things around the house to like now cleaning everything up because you're going to be judged, right? People are going to come over and look at your house and judge the cleanliness. Well, the same goes for prepping your business for sale. They're going to be judging your P&L and looking at it. So you start making better decisions when you prep it for sale. I mean, ideally, you're running it like this all the time. But I've just seen it where a switch gets flipped on and people are like cutting this. It's all waste, only hiring, if we absolutely need it. I'm going to really try to push my team to own more and I'm going to try to cross-train people. I'm just going to run a leaner, more profitable business. And so happy days, this gym owner now is a more profitable business, but it also looks better for going to market and to selling it, right? And so that's what I want to have you go through mentally is even if you're not going to sell it now, start prepping that house, quote unquote, for sale because it's going to show better to your buyers. Okay. So the first question, what do you want, right? What do you want to come out of this? Is it that you're about getting the top purchase price? Is it that you want to make sure your members and your team have a gym that carries on? Like these are the things that you want to think about, your wants, and essentially what's your needs. And so essentially what I mean there is what is your like walk away number? Like I need to get this amount, but I want to get that amount. That is going to help with your valuation and understanding if it's the right time to sell. Because if it's not, then you got to put in the work and grow the business, grow the profit, and you can get a bigger number. You just got to put the work in to get that, right? And so here's a couple things to look at, right? Like I want to sell my business. I want more free time. I want to have more family time. I want to travel more. I want to invest in other opportunities. And so that could be some of your I want statements. Think about what life is going to look like afterward, okay? What's your lifestyle expenses going to be? If you sell your gym for a certain amount, how much coverage does that give you? Most people are not going to be able to sell their gym for a retirement amount of money. So you got to really ask yourself, where's this money going to go afterward? How long can I live on it? Do I need to push it into another cash flowing asset? What are you going to do with that money, right? Because one thing to kind of call out is there's going to be this thing called capital gain. So you need to plan for that. All right. So there's a lot of reasons people sell, but one of the biggest reasons is it comes from the 5 Ds or the 3 Rs. Okay. So a D is disease. Somebody has, some sort of health issue, divorce, again, relationship strain, not a fun one. Dissolution, a partnership falls apart. Death, somebody has a sudden death in the family, or disinterest. They're just burned out. They're losing interest. They want to move on to something new. Those are the 5 Ds, but there's also 3 Rs. Okay. And the 3 Rs are replacement. maybe they're at their age where they need someone younger to run it and the kids have no interest, so they need to pass it on to someone younger or sell it to someone else younger, right? Relocation, owners moving, right? I can't be tied to this physical spot anymore. Or retirement, I'm not planning to do anything else. I'm at the age where I'm ready to ride off into the sunset. I've done well in other ventures or having multiple gyms or whatever, and I'm good. I can ride off into the sunset and, all will be well. So that's some of the reasons people choose to sell. Now, the number one question, what is my gym's worth? Well, there's two things that you need to learn. You need to learn the words SDE and EBITDA, okay? So SDE stands for seller discretionary earnings. This is typically all the things that, an owner is getting from the business in terms of reward for running the business, okay? Now, I'll get into what the difference is. The next one, though, is EBITDA, earnings before interest, debt, taxes, amortization, okay? Usually you're not using that kind of language until you get over $1 million in profit. Most gyms are going to be living more in the terminology of SDE, okay? Now, what is SDE? SDE is your salary. Let's say you got yourself on a $75,000 a year salary. That will be bundled into SDE. Second is any distributions or cash reserves left in the bank. Maybe every quarter you give yourself an extra $5,000 bonus, or you draw from the business bank account another $5,000. It's any extra distribution, draws, cash reserves that you just choose to leave in the business bank. That would be under SDE. The last category is write-offs. Most business owners are doing this, to reduce their tax liability. They have cars that payments, leases, their medical insurance, cell phones, meals, etc., travel. These things we can write off for the right reasons. Well, when we bundle all three of these together, that's where we capture the total of your gyms or your business's SDE. Okay, so that's the first thing we got to establish is what is your SDE? Pretty easy to gather. And I'll give you a hack. If you want to know, like, oh man, I got to sit down and write down all my write-offs, throw your bank accounts into AI and just say, what in here can you see is a business write-off? And it can give you a pretty rough example, right? You probably know your salary, you probably know your distribution. The question mark sometimes is the write-offs. Okay. So at the end of the day, what's your gym worth? Let's be honest. It's what someone's willing to pay for it. But here is what most small businesses are evaluated at. All right. It's 1 to 3x annual profits. Okay. 1x if you are declining. This is a dying business in acquisitions. They call it catching a falling knife. Most people don't want to buy these. All right. Revenue's going down. Profits are going down year over year. It's a sign that the owner is, burned out, not putting more money into it. The team is not, fired up anymore. These are not things that people are excited to buy. Okay. You can call it a turnaround. You can call it a deal, but most people, are not going to bite on that. Okay. Your second category is 2x your profits. And this is if you're staying stagnant or steady, right? This is a good thing for a lot of investors. They see, hey, you've been at the same revenue and profit 3, 4, 5 years. It's probably going to continue to stay at that level. This is something they like to see, okay? The third is obviously the most exciting. That is increased profits year over year. It's going up, up, up. I'm on a rocket ship. I want to buy this. And that's why you get that higher multiple. Now, it doesn't mean that these are the only multiples available. I've seen people get 4x multiple. I see people get 5x multiple once they're at $1 million in profit. But usually under $1 million, you're going to be somewhere between 2 to 4. Okay. You look at SaaS and software companies, they're getting 10 to 50x multiples because they have such crazy margins and rapid growth. So these are all things that go into it outside of profit. Now, again, this is why we probably have to have a call and kind of go through what roughly the value of your business is. But there's a few things that influence it beyond profit. Profit is usually the biggest one. But the first one is goodwill. How much goodwill do you have in the marketplace? Is your brand recognizable? Do you give back to the community? Do people just feel good about you? You have a lot of 5-star reviews. This is an intangible thing, but it is valuable. Okay. Second, is it owner operated or manager operated? A lot of investors will come your way if they hear that a manager can run this thing and they can be a passive owner. Now, we all know gyms are not a passive investment. This manager would need to have probably a piece of the pie in terms of profit. They need to probably have the ability to manage the staff and do the marketing and sales. So it's a pretty rare thing to find, but they do exist, and more owners are going to find it appetizing if a manager's running it for them. Okay, real estate. Are you leasing it or do you own it? Well, if you own it, man, oh man, you're going to have more interest because now they get a business and real estate. This is a whole different play now. Okay, documentation. Do you have systems and processes laid out that they can follow? And then finally, is there any support? You know, if you're a franchise gym, obviously you can mention they get the franchise support. If you're the owner and you don't have, you have your own brand, you're not in a franchise, you can tell them what support you'll provide. You'll give them 30, 60, 90 days of training after they purchase it. These are all things that can make the value go up. Okay. So let's go through a few examples. Let's say a gym is doing $120,000 a year in profit. Okay. It's 10K a month. They're taking home probably doing 30 to 40,000 in revenue. That's very reasonable that they could be having 10,000 in profit. So if they're growing year over year, that can translate to a 3x asking price, $360,000. Okay. If they're staying steady, you can probably get closer to 240. And if you're going down, it's going to be closer to 120. Okay. So if you're not happy with your multiple, obviously you can put your head down and you can grow it for another bit of time, you know, a few months or a year, and then show that like, hey, this is trending in a different direction than what it was in the past. And that's why I'm asking the higher multiple. Okay. Now let's go to a $15,000 a month gym. You know, let's say you're making $15,000 a month in profit, SDE, owner benefit. Well, that's 180 a year. Now, if we 3x that, boom, you're making 540. So that's a half a mil. 2x, you got 360 as your purchase price. 1x is obviously the 180. All right. So those are just a couple common numbers that I run into. That's why I use them as an example. There's a lot of ways that they can fund this, okay? Number one, if you guys don't know, the SBA will loan somebody to purchase a business with only 10% down. So when you saw that 540 and you're like, who's got $540,000? Well, they actually only need $54,000 and they can go borrow the other 90% from the SBA. It is a long timeline to get that money. It's usually 60 days to 90 days is pretty average. It can even go up to 4 months. So that is the longest, but they need to do their due diligence and it's the government. So they move super slow. Okay. Seller financing. So this is one that is popular right now. Seller note, seller financing, same thing. Basically, you're the bank. Instead of going to SBA, maybe there's a reason they won't underwrite it. Well, you can say, hey, I will give you the gym. I need a down payment, and then you're going to pay me over time monthly payments of X. Okay. Can be a little risky. What if they run it into the ground? I don't tend to like to do a giant seller note. We tend to like to do the smaller one if we do need to use one, just because it can be very risky. They can raise capital from friends, family. You know, if clients want to invest in it, they can go get conventional loans. If they own a house, they can, refi their house. They can do a combination of these things. These are all ways to get their hands on the money to buy the gym from you. But if they go the SBA route, they will ask for personal guarantee on the money. Anytime they're borrowing over 20% of the purchase price from the SBA, immediately it comes with a personal guarantee, which means they have the ability to take over your house, any kind of assets they want, if for a reason you default on the loan. So they do like to make sure you get at least 10% seller note, and then oftentimes 10% down payment, but they like to have you get a seller note in the deal too, because that means they feel comfortable. The owner's gonna be picking up the phone call of the buyer and caring about the business because they have a little bit of money that they get paid out from it. And so they like to see seller notes, So popular structures, a 10-80-10, 10% down, 80% loan from the SBA, 10% seller note. Okay. So that's how they get it.
Gym owners, I don't want you to have the reputation in town as the gym that doesn't call people back. All right. We know it's critical when someone's finally made a decision to get healthy and fit that we get to them as quickly as possible. This can be solved by plugging in our remote sales reps, okay? It's not AI, it's not a bot, it's a real human that's working on your leads, the new ones that come in from your ads and the old leads in your database, and they're there to qualify the leads, to ask them discovery questions and to make sure they're a good fit And then their job is to move them forward in your sales process so that you get more members month over month. All right. If you want to learn about our remote sales reps, go ahead and go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call, and we'll tell you more about it. See you then.
Now, here are your 6 levers that, funny enough, all start with a P that you can basically pull on to improve the value of your business. All right. So obviously the first one is the people, especially in fitness. It's coaches, it's your GMs. Essentially this is the people that they're buying that are leading to the value of the business. So one exercise to go through here is to make a list of all the roles that exist in your team or in your company, and then write your name next to the roles you're sitting in, and obviously write the name of your team in the ones they're sitting in, and see how many roles that you're sitting in that the new person would have to come and step into. Well, if it doesn't look like an appetizing acquisition, you need to build a team, right? And so if you're very hands-on, let's be honest, you're going to be selling somebody a job. And if someone has a really good paying job, they're probably not going to leave their job to take over your job, especially if it makes more than what this business makes. So that is not a business, you're selling a job. So we want to make sure we have a good team in place that we are then selling with the business, right? So who do you need to hire? This is why it's good to start thinking about this now. All right, hey, today it's me and 2 people. No owner's gonna want that or want to pay a high purchase price. So I'm gonna establish a manager plus 2 coaches or plus 2 full-time coaches and a part-time coach. Then it's a full team running the ship. Now this will be more appetizing to an owner, right? And you want to have all of your HR documents ready, employee handbooks, non-competes. And you guys, you can use AI to get this stuff done. You don't have to, the days of like writing this from scratch are gone. So it's so helpful. All right. So that's the first P that maximizes the value is your people. All right. And essentially, you as the owner, you're a big piece of this transaction. So you gotta ask yourself, like, if I were buying this, how long is a fair amount of time to train them, right? How long will I stay on and train? Now, I put on here 3 to 6 months, but that's definitely way over the average. It's more like 1 to 3 months is what we tend to see that the owner will stay on and train the new owner. But I mean, I've seen people get a deal done because they said, I'll stay for 2 years if you keep me on a salary. And the new buyer was happy to pay that, right? Because they didn't want to shake things up. So that's really up to you, right? Like, what are you willing to do? How long are you planning to stay on, right? And that is that. Okay. The second is your product. Okay. The second P, we know you got to be thinking, always be closing mindset, right? You're always looking for clients. You got cards on you. You're posting on social. You're hustling. And so that's a good thing when it comes to marketing and sales, but are we also applying that to our product, meaning what the client's experience? So I'm also a fan of always be innovating, making things better than how they are today. The companies that you see on this list stopped innovating and that's why they died. Blockbuster, Circuit City, Toys R Us, Kodak, BlackBerry. They are not here because they are not innovating. They stopped innovating. And so you're only as good as your last sale. And so you have to constantly be pushing your innovation. So how many revenue streams, right? It's a very risky business if you're like, we only have one 12-month membership and that's it, right? Like a healthier business has multiple revenue streams. So innovate, right? And create more levels of revenue. How much client concentration do you have, right? It doesn't tend to be high in gyms because we have hundreds or even up to thousands of members, but this is something they're going to pay attention to, right? It's like, if you have like a PT client that's worth 500 or 800 a month and you have 10 of those and they make up the majority of the revenue, well, that's high client concentration. How many reviews do you get? They're going to look at that because that indicates if a business is keeping customers happy, right? And they're innovating. All right, the third P is process. Again, so much of this can be solved by AI now. It's mind blowing, but everything from how do you train new team members? How do you hire and interview for new team members? How do you hold people accountable? How do you reach out to clients who haven't been there? Or how do you handle cancels and freezes? And how do you take people through a sales process? Most gyms have tribal knowledge, which means it's stored up in everyone's brain. It's not put into a written format so that somebody can easily duplicate the process. So that is something you want to sit and do because it will make the business more valuable. When you say, hey, you don't have to worry about coming up with systems, I've done it for you and I've captured it all here in this handy dandy handbook, right? And I would tell you, I know it could be overwhelming to think like, oh my God, I got to capture so many systems. Like this is going to be overwhelming. But I would encourage you to just do the 20% of the systems that drive 80% of the results. Okay. Tends to be a marketing system, a sales process or sales motion, a onboarding, and then long-term service delivery and a retention, right? Like those are your big four to start with. Some of these, again, you can make a checklist. Some you can record a video. Some you can do a training module, like, kind of like I'm doing here. But basically, some of these things are great for you to put together. Sometimes there's someone on the team that's more equipped. You're like, hey, I don't know how to do this bookkeeping, or I don't know how we, draft clients payments. Like I need someone else to film this or to create an SOP. And so you can go to that person who does it and have them make the checklist. Okay. So we went over three so far: people, product, process. We have six total. Moving to number four, proprietary. So this is anything that makes you unique or different. Okay. What makes people loyal to your brand? If someone buys this company, do they get something proprietary, right? And some gyms have that and some don't. That's okay. But one thing that could be proprietary, it could be you have location, proprietary. So that means like I'm in this space that's in a really hard town to find retail space, and I'm in this space and I have a lease and it's good for the next 5 or 10 years. That is a great thing to a buyer because they don't have to worry about moving this gym, especially if it's a tough place to find a lease. So those are things that help you. It could be the system that you run, your method. It could be your brand is proprietary. It could be your location. These are all things that work in your favor. So that's why, again, I said here the lease is a huge part of making the sale. A landlord can literally cause a deal to not go through, and I've seen it where they wanted to buy it, but the landlord wanted to do giant rent increases. There was one gym that it had 9,000 in rent, and they were going to raise it to 15 with the new owner, and the new owner's like, based on the margins, I can't buy this business anymore, and they completely screw the deal, right? Or they asked for a bigger deposit. They said to the old owner, I just need first and last, but the new owner, I want 3 months up front. And it's like, what? Like, this is crazy. Or sometimes they're like, hey, now that you're bringing this up, I've been meaning to kick you out. We don't like the loud gym in our space, and we've been wanting to get you out. The tenants don't like you there. So, I need you out, right? So all these things can happen, which is why you don't want to keep it a secret from your landlord you're selling. You want to have a transparent conversation so that you can make sure it's ready for sale. All right, and one learning lesson is if you don't have this in your current lease, make sure you do next time you lease a space. You want to make sure there's a transferable clause in your lease, meaning it can be transferred to someone. They can step into the current lease without having to start a new one. Not a deal breaker, but just something I've learned to build into all my leases going forward. All right, other things that might make your gym valuable: unique technology. If you trademark something, how many years you've been in the business. There's something called the Lindy effect. The longer a business has been around, there's a higher likelihood it's going to stay around, right? So that's why people like seeing a gym that's been open 10, 15, 20, 30 years because they're like, this thing's going to probably keep going forever. It's more scary to buy a gym that's been around a year, 2 years, 3 years. The longevity is not there, okay? And then one thing to call out, and this is getting kind of nitty gritty, is the difference between a stock and an asset sale. A stock sale is where I am literally buying your LLC. Whatever the name of it is, I'm going to get that. And so that doesn't commonly, is not the common way to go in the small business land. It's better to go asset, which is I just want your equipment. I want your membership agreements. I want your leads. I want, your online assets. Like I want all these things, but I don't want to buy it as buying it through your LLC. Everything's gonna get changed over to my new LLC that's buying the company. That's more common for small businesses to do an asset sale. The reason the stock is not ideal is because you also assume the liabilities that come with that company's LLC. So if they've been sued and you buy it, well, guess what? You are sued now. So that is not a ideal situation for most gyms. All right, the fifth B is patrons. These are your clients. So Numbers to look at. What's your retention looking like? Is it in a healthy place? What's your lifetime value or LTV? How many referrals do you get per month? How many reviews do you get per month? What's the language in the client's agreements? Okay, you might say I got all these clients on an agreement, but when you read the fine print, they're month to month. They can all bounce with a new member or a new owner. Well, that's going to be scary to a buyer. Doesn't mean it's going to completely shy them away, but they might make you a lower price offer because of that risk. Or they might build a seller note where, if clients leave, they deduct dollars from your seller note. So these are things to look at, like how many clients do you have and are they diversified? Hopefully you have, a nice diversified amount of clients that are all on different membership levels. Um, your cost to acquire a client, like how much do you got to spend in marketing and sales team to acquire a client, CAC, cost to acquire a client. And then owner involvement, like how many of the relationships in the business are all dependent on the owner. Is the owner being called out in the reviews? Like Coach Dustin is awesome. Dustin got me awesome results. That's going to also worry somebody about how much owner dependency there is. All right. So, in terms of profit, these are your three simple numbers you need to know. What is your monthly revenue? What is your monthly expenses? And what is your monthly profit? From there, you can multiply that obviously by 12, and you can see where your exit price is roughly going to be. Again, in that 1 to 3x range, probably leaning more to the 2 to 3x. Not many gyms sell for just 1x unless it's like a fire sale. So that is the six P's: people, product, process, proprietary, patrons, and profit. Okay. Now, who is your possible buyers? Well, a couple you can look at is your team, right? Could a manager get the funds together and purchase it from you? Could a client that is drinking the Kool-Aid and loves the brand? Well, these are a couple places to start that are a little bit of a warmer target. If you're going external, well, you can see if a nearby gym owner wants to sell it. It could be somebody inside of the same brand. If you're in a franchise, it could be a competitor, another gym down the street that wants to open an additional location. You can list it on Biz Buy Sell and see what kind of investors come your way. And then if you're in a very, healthy gym, you might catch the eyes of PE, private equity. Okay, they are doing roll-ups. For example, in Orange Theory, they were buying multiple packs of accounts or locations from multi-location owners. So they had like 4 25 location owners and they bought all four so that they can own 100. Again, you're going to have to be in a really well-known brand that has got the eye of PE or of a really profitable business. But private equity is pretty wide ranging. You got small family offices all the way up to big people that are, managing the money of celebrities and movie stars. So, again, not a lot of gyms get scooped up by them, but it is possible. So, how does this whole process work? Well, first, if you work with us at Reinforced Ventures, we'll get you listed. We also do outbound to nearby gyms. We have a database we're also always building of buyers that are looking to invest in business acquisitions. So, those are a few different buckets that we dip into. But here's what a potential buyer would go through. First, they sign an NDA saying, I'm not going to reveal any of these financials or the name of the gym to anyone. And then from there, they get released the 3 years of P&Ls, tax returns, and a few other financials. If they like what they see, they book a meet and greet with you. And as long as everything checks out, they then submit an LOI, which is like a soft, non-binding offer. Like, hey, if everything checks out, this is what I would give you. We then enter due diligence, which can last anywhere from 30 to 60 days. That's where they can really tear apart financials, ask for bank statements, sit down with you, go through numbers, log into your CRM. Like you're really giving them full access now to make sure it all checks out. From there, they go to a final purchase agreement offer, which is like, hey, I've done my due diligence. Sometimes that purchase agreement price matches the LOI. Sometimes they come down because of what they found during due diligence. Again, my job is to walk you through this and make sure we get you the top price that is fair for all parties. Okay. So, guys, that is it. If you're interested in working with me, just go ahead and hit me up on Facebook or Instagram with a DM. Tell me that you're looking to sell. You can also go to reinforcedventures.com for more interest or for more information about our brokerage services. But that is it. I hope this was helpful, and would be honored to help you sell your gym if that's something you're looking to do in the near future. All right, talk next time.
Hey, gym owners, let's face it, you probably don't love digital marketing. You probably don't want to go into Facebook and load the ad up and think of ad copy and creatives and optimize it daily. Well, hand that over to me and my team, because we're geeks about marketing and we want to flood your gym with new members so you can change their life. Let us do what we do best. All right, go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call. Don't bring the credit card. It's not a hard pitch. It's just a conversation to see if we're a good fit. Talk soon.